Okay. Yo, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It used to be the S&T Show. Is it still the S&T Show?
We can make it whatever show we want.
Dustin
Julian Show.
Well, I'm Dustin Pam, and this is
J-Ho, Julian Ho.
It's been a while, guys. Julian was obviously had absconded from Canada.
Absconded?
Yeah. This guy was he was out of here.
Sabbaticaled away for originally 3 months, and then it built up to don't come back because Ontario COVID pandemic is no good. So keeps traveling and adventuring and exploring the worlds down south, and then that extended to a 6 month. Met my new life partner, and we road tripped around for a full month.
So did you say life partner? Is that already how deep it is?
Soul life partner, yes.
Wow.
Very deep. And then I spent a month farming in Guatemala, putting into practice my permaculture yearning and tendency, my education that I got, certifying as a permaculture design thinker on the coastline of Costa Rica and Puerto Viejo, and then came back to a slowly reopening Ontario back in July. And now we're here in November. Wow.
I wish my life was as exciting as yours. I bought a house.
That's
I mean, yeah, that's pretty
that's
exciting.
huge. That's milestone.
But other than buying the house, it's been pretty uneventful. No trips to Costa Rica. My kids are in school. It's awesome. That's it.
Well, the world has seen a lot of change, and I feel many people have seen that change reverberate within. So as much change on the outside influences and governs how we think and feel about things, the inside definitely goes through. So whether you've traveled externally, physically going from one country to another, most of us have traveled within, have traveled internally. And I don't know where you've gone and what you've learned, but I'm sure it's all part of this beautiful game, charade, experience that is life.
Yeah. So maybe let's start with that. So let's take one thing over the last, I don't know, year for you that you have gained, you have learned, or has developed you to another level. I mean, I know that's big, and you've gone through a lot of interesting things right now, but like trying to pick one is probably tough. But what would you say?
I would say using my heart to make more of the decisions, or at least, let's say I divide into percentages. Before I used to use 80% mind and then 20% heart. But now it's a little bit more balanced. So I'd say I'm consciously trying to use more heart-led decisions. So let's say 60% heart and then 40% mind, having the drivers of my driver's seat be the heart and have the mind support it. So it's like the creative part of me is making the decisions, and it's the logistical, sciencey part of me that's supporting that. And that's how I feel the most. This process is definitely interesting to break it down like that, like to do it in percentages.
Yeah.
But it's a way that's been working for me over the last couple of months as I have integrated back. And it feels really foreign, but also really cool. Like it feels like I'm a little bit more of who I am when I'm both in Costa Rica and both in Toronto. So this new hybrid version of me is making these unique decisions in this way as a way to birth a whole different chapter of my life.
It's funny that you say hybrid, but I don't think it's a hybrid at all. I think it's just more true to who you are, right? Like it's actually embracing your yin and yang.
Yes.
It's Yoda and it's like Chewbacca, kind of, you know what I mean? Like if he's the technical person, I guess, right?
Yes.
But like, you know, it's both of those. I don't know if Chewbacca's the right person. Yeah, I don't know if he's the right one, but you know, like it's a bit of both. It's like your R2D2 and Yoda rolled into one right now.
Yeah.
I didn't choose small characters intentionally. I just think that they're both they're great.
Yeah. If you said Baby Yoda, that would be perfect.
Buddy, Grogu.
Yeah.
Grogu.
How about you, man?
You know what, it's weird because I spent a lot more time reflecting on my own experience recently. And I think one of the things that I've really developed as a bit more of is just just when it comes to certain relationships, I've learned to not try to be so influential. I know what I mean by that is like, I find sometimes I'm always kind of like pushing an idea, I'm pushing an agenda, I'm pushing a thing. Or what I've been trying to do is be a little bit better at the listening and the supporting, as opposed to like, yo, that's cool, but what about this? Or yeah, that's cool, what about this? And I think that in my like relationship with my wife, that relationship with my kids, right? Like my kids are 4 and 6, and I'm trying to let my daughter like just, what do you want to do? And I'm trying not to go, no, let's do this, right? Like I'm trying to listen. Like my relationships is sweat and tonic, my friendships, it's just like listening a little bit more and trying to take it in a little bit more. And it's been something like we've talked about here before, but I think it just boils down to something which I've tried to do more, but just being more patient. Just being more patient and trusting that like as long as I do my part, things will fall into place.
Yeah.
Right. Well, before it was like, well, I have to do all the parts. Or like I'm getting frustrated because it's not going the way I want it to go. Yeah, I got to trust the process sometimes. So yeah.
Is it very difficult?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult because especially when you got something that you know is going to work, but you got to let the other person do their thing. You got to let them do their same thing sometimes. I mean, there's going to be times when it's like, no, that's idiotic or that's completely silly. But I think in general, it's like, you know, it's been tricky, but I think it's actually panned out really good for me in the last little bit, and just being less dominant and more listening, just more listening in general. Yeah.
What would you say the world has in common now that they've gone through this double lockdown or whatever lockdown experience, and now coming to some reopening phases? What is the world taken away from this experience?
The world? That's weird. That's a hard thing for me to answer because you know, everybody's world went really small, right? Like we all got real small and our circles got tiny. And then when things started to open up, I think there's still a lot of people who are struggling with that a little bit. So I mean, maybe there's a bit of that, but like my world got tiny. It got really tiny. But I think one thing is that there are so many people out there that are hungry for connection again. And that's what I'm all about. Let's connect some dots. Like I want to do that. And so I think that it's a good question. That's a really, what would you say? That's a good question.
Well, a lot of people felt divided, right? A lot of these, so what happened over our COVID pandemic time was division.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like our circles got tinier, our habitats became miniaturized. And so there's these spaces between us that maybe didn't exist before.
Isolation.
Yes.
I think amongst the division and the isolation, the fleeing away from a problem or the fighting of it, all these behaviors gave people context. I think it helped them create more context in their lives to either appreciate more of what they have, to yearn for other things because they know that they were pushed to their limits. They were pushed to see what didn't work and what new patterns could evolve. They saw the ugly of themselves, I'm sure, of society, of people that they had no idea would have shown this side. And it gave them a bigger picture and more perspective, which hopefully allowed people to reframe the things that were consistent,
right,
and that were automatically defaulted as this or that.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah, I think there's that, but also there's probably, and just to bounce off that, because I'm thinking about it more, is I think that there's a little bit more, how do you say this? Just like freedom for people to care about themselves. And what I mean is like before the pandemic, especially living here in Toronto and like guys in this fitness industry where there's always like a constant hustle, you know, entrepreneurial mindsets, those kind of things, like you're not even really thinking about you sometimes. You're just
going.
Right. And then suddenly this happens. Yeah. And then suddenly everybody's like, wait, everything's different. And then some people went self-exploring and then realized that there's like a whole other thing out there. And I think for me, with my self-exploration, it was about actually just settling a little bit and like I said, listening to myself, listening to others a bit more, as opposed to just like, gotta get to class, gotta do the thing, got the podcast, got the thing. And I think there's a lot of people, I do these one-on-one consultations here at Sweat and Tonic, and I'm talking very intimately with a lot of people, and they're all like, I'm caring about me more. I'm caring about myself more. And I think that's really interesting. Because they slowed down and they took like some introspection a little bit, right? I mean, you did the same thing. You went, focused on you, got yourself out of your typical climate, right? And then what happened? Like when you were in the most raw of yourself, that's when your heart opened up. Not that it wasn't open here, but it probably, maybe you wouldn't even caught it on your radar.
Right.
You were here, right?
Right. I think it was cool I mean, before, let's say 2019 and previous, the world was going through and becoming a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
And then the pandemic allowed everyone to take a screech halt and realize or reevaluate whether this machine is what's going to take us to the future more sustainably or more caringly. Is it the machine we want to work on and operate with? And it allowed people to really pause and reflect and either change or transform the way that they were doing things. And now we're starting to see, behaviors going back to normal. Like people are yearning certainty again. They're yearning for consistency. They're yearning for things to be back the way that they were. But I remember in a class, I asked someone, and many people are going through this, I just want to get back to the body that I was in before. And the routine, I spent 2 years struggling with fitness because I didn't have my routine and my regular class and community to go to. And now my mission is to get back to where I started. And then I asked with a little bit more consciousness, is what you were doing before, now with hindsight, exactly what you want to develop again? Or now do you have 2 years of reflection and introspection to rejig what you did before, and you are a completely different person now?
Yes.
So can you add more care, more self-care, more modalities that you never once thought to take on? Now can you incorporate that into a different foundational place, as opposed to just recreating and reinventing the wheel from before?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people say, I want to get back to where I was, and they'll say physically, but I think that like they're saying physical, but they're probably saying emotionally as well or whatever. But it makes me think of something my doctor says. I see a heart doctor every couple of years. That's for another podcast to talk about why. But he said to me, 3 things happened to people during the pandemic. People either got fat, they got drunk, or they got hunk. Yeah. And he means like they really focus on like improving themselves. Right. And I think there's a lot of people that were in probably 2 of those that were like, I felt better about myself before because I wasn't just in my own head all the time. I was existing because of this other thing, this machine was pumping me through and I think that sometimes that can be a scary place for people to be inside their own head, trapped in there and really dial into that. But then some people really embrace it. Like I actually think my routine now, especially when it comes to like my movement, my mental practice, is way better than what it was. Because I used to be like strength train, lift this 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever. But now I'm like, it's way more fluid. It's way more just like, hey, I got 10 minutes, let's do some stuff. Well, you know what? I don't have to do that thing anymore. There's a million things that I can do, right? Like, and for me, it's been freeing, but I think for some people, it's probably been freeing. And for other people, it's been very constricting. So they want to get back to what they were, right?
Yeah. It depends on how we defined constricted or the construct of the patterns we had before. Did you feel boxed in? Did you feel like you had to abide by your consistent routine? Or were you able to move it around, change it a little bit, and keep the commitment level high, but not be so rigid?
Yes. Be a bit more water, a little more Bruce Lee, and a little less, stone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because like I look at you and how you've shifted from your adventures, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see. If you guys know Julian out there, like he's really become more water. I feel like you've become way more water.
Yeah.
Like for sure. And I think most people probably look at you and go, this is a water guy,
Really?
right? I think like
As opposed to fire?
or stone,
Uh,
or you know what I mean? Like I think people would say that because you have that like Jedi fluidity about you.
mhm.
But like, man, you're a pretty structured guy.
Yeah.
Like you should see his calendar, man. It's crazy.
I still live and die by my calendar.
Yeah.
That's a non-negotiable.
I was like, hey, like, are we gonna get together later? And he's like, sends me an invite to get together later. I'm like, what? Like, this is a work thing? Like,
You
what?
probably do that too.
Yeah, I don't
Whoever's
know.
watching.
I don't
listening.
know, guys. I don't know. That's not me. But like I think like you've definitely become more like loose with a bunch of that stuff, I think.
Water is also solid too.
It can
It's
be
frozen, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
But like why is it frozen? Like there's like some molecular change happening at that point, right? There's something that's causing it to harden.
The environmental factors.
Yeah.
Like the temperature and whatnot. I definitely feel like I've learned a lot from my trip and taken a part of who my partner Danny is. She is pure water, and for us to build off of each other, we become more of the people that we surround ourselves with.
Yes.
And so that has definitely influenced how I am now. But it's not like I haven't had this side of me before.
For sure.
It's just the door is more ajar.
Yeah.
You know?
The gates open. Somebody's turned on the faucet a little stronger.
For sure. And it feels really good. It feels like I still have structure, but I don't feel caged in by my schedule and the goals that I've set for myself and the pace that I've put on myself. And that's a fast pace. What I've learned and come away from with a newfound idea in 2022 is prioritization. When I prioritize things, even on the outside, if it looks like I'm hitting the ground running and transitioning really quick, which is what a lot of my friends had said, holy shit, you went from this life-changing Eat, Pray, Love trip to now back at it. It's like deja vu from last year and the year before.
Side note, I love that you named it the Eat, Pray, Love trip. I've heard you say that numerous times. That is such a great way of just being like, it's my Eat, Pray, Love trip. That's so great.
It's the easiest way to communicate.
Yeah.
The experience that I had.
Yeah, of course.
But from the outside, we can see a specific thing and draw conclusions from what that person may be going through. But on the inside, totally different ballgame. You can see that with everyone. That's also a really good coaching reminder, is what I see clients and class participants from the outside, how they're working out, what pace they're at, is not always what's happening on the inside. Just like the iceberg effect, right?
Yeah.
What you see above the waterline of an iceberg is nothing near compared to what's happening down below the surface.
Yeah.
And that's a really helpful tip for compassion and empathy driven solutions. When I think about coaching others or relating to others, I'm very, very extra mindful, but also heartful about that. And that's been a really amazing silver linings takeaway from my trip, and then how I'm transitioning now.
That's crazy. I think it's pretty awesome. I think that one thing that I see is like a little less ego.
Yeah.
Right. A little less of that, and just a little, or maybe not as like a drive for that satisfaction of ego, right? Which is really interesting.
Well, a big part of that is, over the last before I met my partner, I was single, ready to mingle, and a big part of that is
I'm stirring it up.
A big part of that comes down to, you have a role as a teacher, but you also are out there. You're a little more flamboyant and willing to share more of who you are, and maybe put on a character hat, so that it can draw people in more. So now that I've found someone, I feel like I don't have to do that. Like there's less of this ego driven human being to prove it to anyone or to showboat and show off. There's less of the need for that, and it's just down to business, and it's coming from a different place. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, the change in me when you say that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But you probably like that too. I mean, you got wife and kids, you've got a clear
Oh, yeah.
direction on how you teach and how you show up.
Well, no, I think ego changes big time when you have a family, right? I think there's a big shift when you find someone you love. And then when you have kids, then it's like, whoa, this is even like the you almost gets more separated, if that makes sense, right? Because I'm thinking about those little munchkins. I'm thinking about the family unit more. It's less about, well, I got to make this money, or I got to do this thing, or I got to win all these people's approval.
Yes.
It's like, no, I just got to show up because I got to show up for them. Right. I mean, I guess there's still a part of that, because it's like, hey, if I impress this group of people, that's going to help my family. Right. There's that side of it, which is maybe a motivator. But before it was like the only thing. Now, no, that's not even like that anymore. I care about them all the time.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so weird. Like, you know, when it was double income, no kids, we're just like living for ourselves. And then you have those two little rascals. And for anybody out there that does have kids, like, you know, it changes everything. It changes everything. It's like those people that have a dog. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Your priorities change, and who you are doing what you're doing things for is different. So I'm very much a person who seeks validation. I love it. I love receiving compliments and approval, and again, validation. But now that the buckets of which I'm pouring my energy towards is less about people pleasing and seeking validation from random people. Now it's tightened.
Yes.
It's more concise.
Yes.
It's clear, and it's filtered now through the lens of not like, I don't give a fuck, I don't care. It's more, okay, here are the people that I want to pour my energy into, and this is the work that it's going to take to get that energy to them. And that takes my focus to a whole different level. And so that's why when I was saying, you know, on the outside, I'm down, committed, working, picking up a lot of classes, subbing and doing that, I've got future goals and commitments that I want to put on myself, and new challenges, life challenges. And the people that I want validation from are more so specific than they are just generalized. I'm not just casting a huge net out there. Now I'm becoming more of a, I guess, a sniper about it.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It's funny when you talk about validation, when you have kids, it's like my daughter said something to me the other day that made me so happy. One of my friends, who's a very like outgoing guy, super fun. My kids are like, my daughter in particular goes, oh, he's really fun, Dad. And then I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then she says, I don't know where she goes, but you're still the funnest. And I was like, yes, like that is like that validation. Like, and I know that's not going to happen forever, but that's the kind of validation for me now that like matters more than, you know, like you say, good job. It doesn't bomb, whatever. Yeah, cool. My daughter said I'm the funnest.
That's
you know,
amazing,
like that,
right?
And like we were on this trip right before the pandemic, and we were in, you know, Dominican, and we're like in a little floating thing. And I said to my daughter, I'm like, hey, sweetie, like, what's been your favorite part of the trip? And she goes, hanging out with you, Dad. And I was like, yo, like, what else do I need? Like, I don't need anything else. Who cares? Who cares what my boss says? Like, who cares? Like, I got this little human being, unfiltered, giving me like her heart. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. One of the 6 areas of growth for humans is significance. The need for significance,
right?
And to get it from anyone and everyone is amazing, but getting it from specific people and the context of that is bar none the most special thing. So to get it from your daughter, that significance factor in her life is, you know, it means the world to not only her but to you. I think that's an area of focus where maybe we can shift the conversation to to those that are listening, what areas in your life are you able to show significance or to receive a feeling of significance? As a segue into some deep thoughts for the next time that we talk.
Yeah, sorry guys, had to be a quick one today, but listen, we're getting back into it. I know this guy's planning on traveling more eventually, but we'll try to get out some more podcasts over the next bit. Let us know if you're listening. What things would you like us to talk about? Do you want us to talk about this stuff, or do you want us to talk about sandwiches again? Like, I don't know. What's up?
What's your favorite food over pandemic times?
Oh man, I've always loved fried chicken, but I've fallen in love with pasta all over again.
Oh,
Like pasta has taken over my life again.
okay.
And I make I cook all the
Homemade.
time. It's amazing. I haven't made the noodles from scratch, but guys,
Yes.
you want some pasta? Come on over to my house. It's crazy. You?
Yummy. Man, this is like a weird one, but boba tea.
Boba tea?
Bubble tea.
Okay.
It was just like a random thing that just came into my mind. Yeah, I don't know why, but
Wow.
it just came up.
Well,
Boba and pasta.
What a meal. It's a complete meal. You're getting all your macros in that one right there. That is, I never liked bubble tea. The big beads, I don't like them.
I think also just fresh fruits. I
Well,
never used to eat fruits, but
really?
no, I stopped because yeah, I used to just eat vegetables, and after going to Costa Rica, the nutrients and the aliveness that I feel from fruits has been out of this world.
Oh no, fruit is
Yeah,
crazy.
like papaya, for example.
Oh yeah.
A
All right,
fresh
guys.
papaya.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Dustin.
Julian. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.